Suddenly bring on today's guest. He has an interesting background, but first we'll get to his real life as CEO right now of Black Sheep Foods. Sunny Kumar, thanks for being with me. What are your predictions? I used to ask this question like the next 10 years, but now things are moving so quickly. I'll say the next 3 years. What are your predictions? And I'll let that be anything, either the plant-based business world or politics. You just say, what are your predictions? What's going to go down in the next 3 years?
Politics. Ooh,
I don't know. You don't have to talk about politics.
But today's not a good day to talk about politics. A lot of bad news has come out, or good news, depending on what side you're on.
Well, yeah, I guess, right? Yeah.
Sides of the story. I think going back to innovation, and I said this before, but I think the key thing here is the consumer is not a monolith. Industrial agriculture treats consumers as monolith because it has to be a monolith, right? It could only pump out chickens. It could only make them bigger.
Yes.
It could only make them cheaper relatively. Now it's accelerating actually because of the water and land usage and yada, yada, yada. But the customer is not a monolith. And so I think what you're already seeing is brands that are catering to customer needs that are unique. And what will happen is, I think when we first started, we were thinking like, oh, there's going to be one or two players. One's going to win beef. One's going to win chicken. It's going to be an analogous situation to what happened in animal agriculture. What you're seeing now is there's going to be a great bifurcation, and there's going to be consolidation in certain animals because they're going to be sort of like the base capacity, and people will still eat a certain amount of chicken nuggets per se. But you're going to start seeing things that are catering to you, right? If you want whole foods and you want a burger, there's going to be a company for that. If you want high levels of proteins and maybe omega-3s from your chicken alternatives, you'll get that, right? So now you could eat like a thing that's supposed to be technically bad for you, and you're putting a bunch of ketchup on anyway, and now it's giving you like heart-healthy omega-3s. And if you're really a health nut, you're going to really align with this brand that's like, I'll give you like a vitamin pill, but with a protein mass wrapping around it. So I think there's going to be a bifurcation in the future. And it's going to be what always wins, which is what does my customer need, right? I'm 38 now. Like I want more vitamins in my diet and I want more fiber. Give me a plant-based alternative that gives me both those things and maybe some nutrient that I don't typically get. And that's what I want, which it redefines protein because it's not actually protein anymore. It's what do I think is center of plate? And that's there's so much creativity to be had there, which I get excited about, right? Like, I get excited about my taste and stuff because I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is camel?
Yes, yeah. It is just a creative maze. I mean, there's so many ways to go. You talk about health, and now foods can deliver health as a delivery mechanism for your vitamins, for your omega-3s, and in other ways that we didn't think of food, and we only thought of vitamins and supplements and all this. And then the creativity of, do I want whole food plant-based, or I just want whole food and I'll make the shape myself? Do I want it to be junk food? Do I want it to deliver a healthy profile of,
What if it regenerates the planet? Like, what if it only uses ingredients that if you eat it, you're actively, like, it's not even monoculture is way better than animal protein. But then what if you were like next level up where you're like, hey, the younger generation who really cares about the environment, what if you had a product that when you ate it, you could be guaranteed that like the world is getting better? Like,
yeah.
So and that's a 33%. So we know the numbers, right? That's about 30 to 40% of people really care about that. Well, guess what? That times 9 billion, that's a lot of people. And so right now it's like, oh yeah, 34%. But if you had, 2 to 3 billion people actively eating something that made the environment better, well, that makes up for the other parts. So like, I just want monoculture and flavorings, right? And that's what we're going after. So it's like 1,000 flowers blooming, to quote Mao, weirdly to end it, maybe. But that's what I think the future holds. It's going to be like this burst of creativity because we're past the first level, right? It's the analogs have come out. People are familiar. Now it's like, do you want this? Do you want this?
Yes. Now the real trust begins because the big guys, Beyond Meat and Impossible have kind of laid the tracks for what we're doing and why, and it's all good stuff. And now you get to really take the bike out for a spin.